Moving on to the third album is Bunky Becky Birthday Boy by Sleigh Bells. And this was my pick. So, yeah, another one which is a bit of a tongue twister. I wrote it down as Bunky Becky Birthday Girl initially, but forgot it was a fully alliterative effort. But anyway, Sleigh Bells, band who I've kind of loved their 2012 effort, Reign of Terror, if that's right, and the kind of crunchy metal guitars with juxtaposed by the very lovely vocals, and that kind of yin to the yang, etc. is always something I've admired or liked, whether that's thematically with Stevie Wonder albums or even more recently like a Niles Barkley, Saint Elsewhere, things like that, where you just get that yin and yang, and obviously on a more conventional level the loud quiet, which obviously bands like Pixies and Nirvana really kind of championed. But Sleigh Bells at this stage of their career, after releasing a lot of records, this is their sixth, kind of are the grandfathers and grandmothers of this metal pop, which seems to be a lot more popular these days. I've picked out a few artists for this pod in that sort of zone, but some of the more recent versions haven't been quite as compelling or as good as what Sleigh Bells have done, and I think that there's a lot to be admired about what they have done there, and they can slap themselves on the back for that. But yeah, anytime I have dipped into their music ever since, I've always enjoyed it, and they're a band I kind of wish I'd sort of dived more into the discography actually, and whenever it comes around, it's always too late, and I'm just diving in and going, oh, this is good, but we should gone into it more. So when this one came around, I thought, right, let's give it a go, and I think what you get is kind of the classic formula on this record. It's not earth-shattering, groundbreaking or whatever, but it's doing what they do and doing it very well. And I think, Kylie, you said it on the chat about how it's a nice time of year as the sun starts to spring up again, that this kind of music is back on the menu. So the more I listened to it, the more I enjoyed. Basically, it's hooky, and just one which I couldn't really pick out a bad track. Maybe Blasted Shadow is one I have less time for than the rest on here. But yeah, was kind of drawn in by their singles, so Want to Start a Band and Bunky Pop. I mean, the lyrics and some of the names of the songs, probably best not to over analyze those and just let the music do its thing. But yeah, I mean, there's more than the kind of quirkiness which comes up from that. I mean, Bunky Pop is actually about the death of the lead singer's dog, Alison. So yeah, whilst it sounds incredibly perky and upbeat, the lyrics don't quite match on that front. And again, that juxtaposition is quite well captured here. Other highlights I'll just briefly mention: Roxette Rick, I love the kind of spidery electronic percussion. A bit self-referential, your pop metal dream came true. So like I say, I think they're at this stage where they don't feel like they particularly have to prove anything to anyone, and sometimes that can be good for letting the creative juices flow, as they very much do here. And High Someday, which for me is my favorite track, where I just love the kind of urgent, watery electronica, but the typical kind of rock instrumentation, and this one just sort of grips a little bit more than the rest, which I think on a fleeting listen you'd listen and maybe not feel like you'd have to go back to it again, but that one really sticks a lot more. So yeah, about 35 minutes or so, just for me flies by. Can happily go back to, and I did go back to it a lot, and I'm sure I will do in the summer as well. And yeah, glad that they're back and doing their thing. So yeah, I mean, Kiley, what you gave some complimentary words on the chat before on this. Is that still the case now?
Yeah. Sleigh Bells, one of those, I know I've talked about it before, but my wife and I, we call it Urban Outfitters core. A lot of the stuff that was playing when she works there, that first album, Treats, and then Reign of Terror as well, just kind of in that, any of MIA, Santa Gold, Passion Pits, Foster the People, that kind of stuff. It all just kind of, it may sound different, but it has this Urban Outfitters to it that pulls it together. And I have to say that I was not much of a Sleigh Bells fan when that album came out, and just I think it was. I think looking back at it now, you're right how influential they've been. I think it makes more sense, and I can appreciate them more. And but that being said, I haven't listened to any of their records since. So when you picked this, I was like, kind of. I was curious, but I was also like, oh man, come on. With that being said, I think
not for the first time.
Yeah. I think it's a really fun record though, and I think I've exclusively listened to it while driving in the car, and I've listened to it a bunch while driving around town and kind of, dealing with the pilled out elders driving all over the place. It kind of just gets me in that zone to work through it, and I'm with you. I think, well, it's all kind of the same as Sleigh Bells does. I think the first part of the record's a little bit stronger than the back half, but yeah, I've really enjoyed this, and I'm gonna keep listening to it for the summer because it's a great little summer record.
Strong summer vibes. So so a bit of a turnaround from your previous kind of perception of the band
15 years ago.
Wow. So as the young sprog of the pod, Karl, what did you make of Bunky Becky Birthday Boy?
Yeah, so you guys know I dropped the ball a bit with this one, as I should have had a full month with it, but I think I only ended up with like a couple of weeks. I didn't get the release date right with this one, but nonetheless got there in the end. But yeah, and I'd say that's kind of the case with Sleigh Bells as well, because they're one of those bands I've always kind of been aware of them. I've probably subconsciously consumed their music in some way, but yeah, never really spent much time with them, I'd say, outside of maybe, that odd song that I've probably heard playing that I don't realize is them. And
you have to bought a graphic tee at Urban Outfitters at some point, right?
Well, yeah, that's it. or Hollister. Hollister's the other one.
Yeah.
I was thinking of Topshop over here because around that time
Topshop,
in the UK, that was like Enemy magazine, Topshop, like cool.
Anyway. The in-betweeners outfits, wasn't it?
Yeah. The hair like that, like Jay. Anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think I will say the first track on here, it was one of those where I thought, maybe there's a reason I've not listened to them up until this point, because I just cannot get on with the opener at all. It's just too sugary. It's too bubblegum pop. It's an earworm, but in the way that's like a little bit annoying. So like I've listened to it obviously a few times since, and it's still not won me over. So at first I was like, okay, let's see where we go from here. But then you get Want to Start a Band comes in, and that brings me right back on side. Got those thunderous guitars. those chaotic synths, and it just goes all over the place. And I think, you know, the word that you guys both used was fun. It's definitely that. Really fun, really interesting. And yeah, I'd say from that point on, it's like a similar story after that. It's just this wild ride of, you know, great rock riffs, big choruses, really playful synths. Roxette Rick that you mentioned, Andrew, definitely one of my favorites. Scream and Badly, probably some of my other favorites on here. I mean, it loses me momentarily in the back half again. Blasted Shadow was another one that I found slightly annoying. And I think by that point, that the album's maybe like just spinning its wheels a bit, you know, treading over the same sounds. But that said, you know, still some high points in the back half. Another one you mentioned, Andrew, High Someday. I think Roxette Rick. And the other one that I really liked as well, Pull Strips Quiet. I think that's a great closer for the record as well. So yeah, I think you guys used the right word. I think overall it's a fun record. One of those that for me, maybe there's just those couple of tracks that lets it down. Maybe a bit of sameness kind of creeps in as well. But yeah, definitely enjoyed like the interestingly like disordered nature of the sound, even if it didn't always, you know, hit the mark for me. But yeah, I think it's one of those where I'll probably definitely revisit those 4 or 5 tracks that I really enjoyed again rather than the whole album. But yeah, overall, I'd say I enjoyed it.
There we go. So yeah, nice summary, fun record. Sometimes too sugary, which I think yeah, is definitely, if you don't like them, that's probably where you'll land with some of it. But yeah, good to have them back and doing their thing, like I say. So nice. Well, probably the closest we've got to getting approval across the board.